You're listening to the Unreasonable Fridays Podcast Network.
Go ahead, stand up, stand up, stand up. Stand up. Stand up. Stand up.
Shorthand intro. This is Ad Space.
ADD Space.
I'm your host, Aaron Rand Freeman.
I'm the other host, Elise Bacon.
Welcome to the show. Here we go.
So what are we talking about today?
Well, actually, it's something that came to mind when we were talking about Outriders and why people like it, why people have this big buzz around it. And I actually would like to, if it's at all possible to do so, to sort of hash out the 1,000,001 different types of loot shooter MMO grindy games that exist that you can choose from. Because I find what happens is folks are playing the wrong game for them. And then they get mad at the game for not being the right kind of looter shooter, as they are all not created equal. They are all the most popular ones that I play. I'm relatively new compared to someone who's been playing MMOs their entire life like you. But the new brand of looter shooter, the new wave, they all offer different types of loot to get. And then you're thinking about wanting to buy one, you have to kind of think about what you want to, like what you're looking for, and being very honest about it. And it's not all the same, which is
The ironic part about this to me is that so there's a huge difference on this between console and like cell phone games of this nature.
right.
Is console games, like these companies are specifically pushing for this is a live service, not an MMO. And I'm like, that's literally what an MMO is.
Right.
And then I'm just like, you're trying to like disassociate with what you actually are.
Right.
But on mobile, it's the opposite. On mobile, they put MMO on literally everything, even if it's not the kind of MMO I'm looking for. So like, I actually like I'm looking for a specific kind of MMO, and there's just a deluge of these like arena and battle royale games, and I'm just like, this is literally the opposite of what I'm looking for.
There was a game.
Once you get to console, it's just like we're live service. We're not one of those MMOs.
And it's
And
funny.
I just have some questions about that. I want to know why.
Well, it's weird. There has to be a legal reason.
I
Because,
don't think so. There's no legal reason.
well, because one of the chief reasons why the audience gets turns on games is because the developer is making a game that they didn't say existed. So because Bungie, for example, had spent years saying Destiny is not an MMO, when they went to MMO fundraising techniques in terms of microtransactions and stuff, everyone freaked out because Bungie had spent years saying that it wasn't an MMO when it was. But if they were straight about it, we could have approached it differently. And now, as time passes, they're using the terminology now, and as a result, what they're charging us for, and how they're generating funds, is just a little bit more widely accepted. Just in literally the word you use to describe your product can go a long way.
well, and the only kind of game that I would differentiate as live service instead of MMO are single player live service games.
Mhm.
But if you're a multiplayer live service game, I have news for you.
I mean, if you got recommendations for the audience, please. I only play a handful.
No, I mean it's literally like MMO literally just means massive multiplayer online.
Right.
That is the abbreviation. So it literally is all just like massive amounts of online multiplayer games. Like that is what MMO stands for. That is what an MMO is. MMOs historically have been live service games, which because there's constantly because with a multiplayer game, to keep people playing your multiplayer game, you want to continuously add new content because people want more content. So if you're updating the game and continuously updating the game, then like it's a live service model. But what I'm seeing is like these companies are specifically like, we are not an MMO, we're live service. And I'm like, but you are an MMO that has live service. Like you are an MMO. So this shying away from the title of that doesn't make sense. But there's mostly single player. Like you see a lot with racing games. Like there's like mostly single player, or like it's multiplayer couch co-op, or like not really the big online racing ones where like they'll constantly be updating cars and things like that and whatever. So like that's a live service. Like you're continuously to get it. But like I said, like Destiny and Bungie, they're like, we're not an MMO. We're not an MMORPG. We're a live service game. And I'm like, I have news for you.
Right.
You are literally an MMORPG with guns.
Right. And in not acknowledging that,
Fortnite is an MMO live service game, but it is an MMO.
Huh. I never thought about Fortnite that way. I mean, you're not wrong.
Massive multiplayer online game. That's all it stands for. The RPG part is just role-playing game. That's different.
Huh.
Right. This is why I'm sitting here trying to figure out, like, why are you trying so hard to run away from this title?
It seems as though they're worried about losing their audience before they show up, because from what I've read is that folks assume when you say MMO that they're going to have to pay a monthly fee, and they're going to be paying out of pocket for a lot of the game, and having to pay out of pocket for a game now rubs the audience the wrong way now in 2021. From what I gather, just from like reading comments and reading the rationale behind it, that seems to be the goal. They don't want to scare the audience, so they say that this game will not charge you money per month, but then charges you money at all, and it just irritates everybody just the same. They could just say it's an MMO, for example.
You could probably have an argument over whether or not Minecraft is an MMO.
Huh.
Because it's a giant sandbox game, but there are servers full of people, but you can also literally just play by yourself. Like you don't, the way that Minecraft is set up, you can literally just be in a giant sandbox by yourself.
Huh.
So there's argument to be made over whether Minecraft is an MMO or not, but it is a giant sandbox game. And there's also MMORTSs. There's which are real. RTS stands for real time strategy. There's MMO FPSs, which are first person shooters.
I know those.
Just MMO literally just means massive multiplayer online.
So a lot more of us play MMOs than we even understand.
Yes. I would even probably say GTA is an MMORPG.
Oh yeah, definitely now.
Yeah.
You know, and a shockingly long running one, as that game has been around for I think 6 years or 7 years or something.
Red Dead Redemption Online is also an MMORPG.
I mean, where do we
if we're gonna get like Destiny is an MMORPG FPS.
Well, then I'm wondering then is because I'm wondering essentially how loot is then divided up among those things then. Like is there how do I ask this question? How is loot then divided then? Is there, because there are some games that are absolutely a standalone game, and there are some games that try to market themselves. Like Remnant from the Ashes was a looter shooter, but it was not a live service game at all. It was a game you could get to the end of it. They were not stapling things on. They had content drops, but it wasn't a consistent flow of content, an evolving world or anything like that. And
yeah, nobody understands why it's only online.
right. I'm interested in just
I'm wondering if is there a single player campaign for it?
oh yeah, there's a single player campaign for it. It's not good. But
Yeah, I was about to say it might like because if the single player mode of a game is basically like here's some characters unlock and here's some stuff to like run around in, and then the game is meant to be played online, I would still count that as an MMO.
Huh. What I mean and what I think I'm discovering is that I think because we're not using the language directly, people are kind of trapped by different games loot systems. So a lot of folks will like be on the wrong game given what they're looking to do. So some people will be on Destiny and essentially not enjoy the fact that Destiny makes you try to play a whole experience, for example. But then something like
Some people just want the loot drop.
Right.
Which is fine. And honestly, like looter shooter is basically a genre. So if we think about it, so like here's a game. It's an online game for a lot of players. So we have an online game with a lot of players. So now first we have to look at, is it like in kind of like a super like make believe sort of setting? And when I mean make believe setting, I mean like, are you in a barren wasteland? Are you in like a future post apocalyptic thing? Are you in space with aliens? So like there's like, you know, the theme genre. So Call of Duty is generally like a fictitious war zone, but you're not playing as like any one character or anything. It's really centered around just shooting. So like Call of Duty, you can't even really call it RPG because it's really not, but it is a first person shooter. But it is set it does have a set environment, but even within that set environment, there's like no focus on anything other than shoot the thing when you're outside of story mode. So you have your game, you have like your thematic around it, and then you have like the game focus. Like Apex Legends actually has like a whole narrative that actually surrounds all the stuff that you're doing and why you're there.
Right.
It's also a battle arena game. I think that's a battle arena. And then you have like the type of combat. So, and then you also have like the different kind of loot. So you have like all these subgenres. So like you have battle royale, you have real-time strategy, you have role-playing games, you have turn-based, you have, although you won't really find turn-based in like you kind of do like some of the Japanese games, like you'll find a turn-based, like it's like you take your turn and the enemy takes their turn, even if you don't see like the time bar, it's really clear that you're exchanging stuff just because of like ability cooldowns.
Right.
Or not even just ability cooldowns, but like I want to say Black Desert feels that way in the beginning, where it clearly feels like I go, then you go, I go, then you go. Where in like Final Fantasy 14, it feels like we're hitting each other simultaneously. But I know Black Desert Online, that's just the beginning. It gets a little more it gets more complicated later on. But there were some MMOs back in the day that would do that, where it really would be like I hit, then you hit, and you kind of have to like think like chess. It's very weird. So, and then there's, like I said, there's games where you're, like everybody hits kind of simultaneously. So there's also arena matches. So you have a collection of main genres and like 100,000 subgenres. And
Well-
people need to like, I think people, because like, you know, games are everywhere, people are out of money, but they also want to play stuff, but people are also in general kind of more expanding. You're finding like, I like this subgenre, but I don't like this subgenre, but I don't have the language for any of this.
Right. Which is where we're at. And it's hard to
But
get
the
people.
people who make the games have the language for it,
And they don't use
and
it.
they're not utilizing the language.
I
In
assume
some cases, they're running away from the language.
it's weird because we've proven that we can follow nuance and complexity as a consumer base now. So you don't have to hide it. Like, I understand back in the day, if you said MMO, you'd scare off a vast majority of your audience. But a lot of us are open to
Yeah.
it now in a way we've never been open to it before.
Right, but that's because there's been a generational shift. Right now, like, you have the people buying the games are the same people who've been playing the game since children. So you have Gen X, you have Gen Y, and you have Gen Z. Where are the ones buying and playing games? We're also Gen X and Gen Y are also the ones making the games. So these like weird, feels like there's some people who like are just like, you know, who've been in the industry for a long time. It just feels like there's a little bit that's like dated, a little out of touch with the fact that we're all playing games. Everyone is playing games. Grandparents are playing games on their cell phone. Some of them are playing on the Switch or playing Call of Duty. Like, everyone is playing games. It's not, if you say MMO, people aren't going to run from it. You're going to have a whole bunch of people who go, I only play MMOs.
Right. And it's funny because I see more people who only play looter shooters. And it's very funny, the two people that essentially are saying, I only play MMOs now. I only play them. And you know, they wouldn't even agree to it, but they're ready for it as long as you don't tell them directly. And that's the thing. But it's like, as a result, developers are acting like those people are no longer the majority.
And you know what? Monster Hunter Online, I wouldn't even consider an MMORPG. I would consider it a multiplayer.
Oh yeah, it is multiplayer. It
is multiplayer. You can only have 4 people.
Right. That's not massively multiplayer, no.
Right. It's not an MMO, but it is a multiplayer RPG. Also fixated on loot.
Right.
It's just loot. The game is literally built on loot. Very, very creatively, though.
Oh yeah, Monster Hunter's loot game is superb. And
So good.
it's so well constructed to spend half an hour fighting a dragon for a fingernail and it being lit. And you being excited, you carrying that with you. Oh man. Yes.
Yeah, but then your outfits are on point because your gear looks dope because you got to with 5 nails, you finally got to put all the spikes on your new weapon and your weapon looks amazing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Monster Hunter has had and that's, I think, what the point, if this is I think we're at the point where everyone is playing MMOs or a multiplayer game to the point where you need to figure out what is for you.
And honestly, I think people are running away from live service the term live service because they don't fully understand what live service means.
I mean, it seems the developers of the live service games don't seem to know what live service means, but
I mean, these are both true. I mean, like, a live service game just means a game that has continuous content.
right.
That's it.
Right. Now, what happens is, at least in terms of the AAA games, like the last handful of ones of failures, is that they say they're going to give you content, but they forget that you need to actually front load that. You need to have a lot of content to introduce the audience and then drip feed the rest of the content over time. And that
Right,
seems
which
to-
is, if they were actually paying attention to MMOs, they would know that.
Well,
Like this was actually an issue with Anthem, with the creation of Anthem. So one team that was working on Anthem also had been working on the Star Wars MMO. So like there's stuff that they're like, we know from experience from this MMO that we created, this is the things that you need to do. And people like within the company, like the whole like their other location, other department who was also working on Anthem was just like, no, y'all don't even know what you're talking about. And we're just straight up ignoring them. And then it came back later.
yeah, it shows.
So, right. Good shit.
It shows.
So it's like they're really trying to run away from something when they need to actually embrace it. And in embracing it would actually help solve some of these communication problems.
All right. So, okay. Now, this is something that just came to mind. I might send you off on a wild tangent. I don't know. I might unleash you. It might be accidental. What are the fundamentals of an MMO? Because we're seeing games miss the mark. Anthem missed the mark. Avengers had no idea there was a mark and still doesn't know the mark to this day.
So Avengers, I'm pretty sure, was just made to be a cash cow.
Yes.
Like, no, I mean, I think that was the entire intention from the beginning, and it just flopped because they didn't actually put content in it. They're like, they basically said, here are the things that make money in a game, in a live service game and in MMOs, and we're going to implement all of these except for the content part.
So that's what I mean. So what is a content fundamental?
Like, you do content. Content is narrative. It's engaging missions. Content makes you want to keep playing the game.
So then so what is too little content or too much? Because that's a good question. Like,
so first off, the number one rule is you will never have enough content.
Right.
However, what it is a good thing to do, and what I've seen is successful, is drip feeding content.
Right.
So what you do is you have a large content drop. The large content drop being the game, big DLC. One of the issues is they'll drop DLC that people pay for, and there's really not anything in it. If you're dropping like it should be more than just like 2 hours. Like, you need to drop more. And what I've also seen that'll happen that helps is like events, like in-game events, and like mini content drops in between the large content drops. So those mini content drops will keep people coming back from playing. So like what'll happen is people will be like, I finished everything. I'm not going to do anything for 2 weeks. And then an event happens and they're like, oh, I'm going to come back for this event. And then you do the event and then you're just like, okay, the event's over. I'm going to leave again. And then you come back like, oh, there's like a small, like half an hour story mission or story mode with additional loot that I can get that's associated with this story mission.
Right.
So like having like free events and mini content while that in between large content drops. And again, large content drops are paid. So you need to make sure that that large content drop is worth them time and money.
So what is too little content? Because I hear that complaint come out often whenever they bring out a game that's supposed to have, whether it be an MMO or a multiplayer game or a live service game or a looter shooter. There's always someone who says there's not enough here.
There will always be people who say there's not enough content. Always. You can't get around it. What you can do is be like, I have aimed to create X many number hours of content. And then drop that. But again, you need to have stuff that is in between the large content drops to keep people engaged. If that's what you want to do for, if you want to keep people continuously playing your game, you have to give them something to do. Even if it's like something grindy or it's special achievements, you have to give players something to do. Now, the reason why I say that there's never enough content is because there are people who specifically speed run content and that's all they do. They just burn through content straight. They don't stop to do other things. They just do the content and then they're like, well, I have nothing to do now. Well, you also burned through like 80 hours of content in like 2.5 weeks. So or like in 2 weeks, I don't know what to tell you. That was 80 hours of content. Slow down.
Okay. So there will never be enough content.
There will never be enough content, which is something that, again, developers need to understand. But you need to have something there, again, to keep people, like, not the content junkies. You need to make sure that there's something to do. And that's the part that seems to be missing and seems to be ignored from MMORPGs. Because MMORPGs have figured this out, because like this is like a 3 decades issue.
Right.
Like a 2 to 3 decades issue. There's not enough content. Like there are people who still say with Final Fantasy 14 there is not enough content. I don't know what to tell you. There is literally 4 expansions worth of content. You've just done it. The content's not the issue. It's you ran out of things to do, which is different.
Huh.
I say that because like my playtime is like over 100. It's like what the last I checked it was like 170 days.
Right.
Of playtime.
And
I still don't have content completed. I still don't have content that I want to do completed.
Huh. Okay.
But there's still people who say there's not enough content. And again, there's also the phrase of there's not enough content you want to do as well. So like if there's a particular type of content that players don't find engaging, well, you have to be like, why don't the players find it engaging? Why aren't they utilizing it? Is there a really small but really extremely strong niche group of people who are super into that content? Because that happens sometimes too. And then you can just keep the content going, but also find something else for these other players who are like, I really don't like this.
Okay. And to that point, I wanted to ask if like I wanted to talk about almost like different types of loot per game, because what happens is I find people are not understanding what they're looking for, because I think like say the Destiny audience is generally very fussy while playing the game forever. They're very spoiled children. But like the Warframe audience loves their fucking game. They love Warframe. They really love Warframe. They love Warframe.
Also an MMO RPG.
Right. Yes.
Battle Arena.
Right.
I think that one's a Battle Arena.
What's the definition of a Battle Arena MMO again?
I have to look at Battle Arena. I get Battle Royale and Arena.
Oh no! I would say it's okay. Compared to one to the other, it is a Battle Arena MMO.
There we go. Battle Arena. 2 teams fighting in an arena.
It's just Warframe is extremely finicky, and it's almost like there are portions of the Destiny audience that want more finick, and they don't get it. And they're just kind of like barking up the wrong tree. And aside from the genre of game that you're looking for, you have to think about the type of loot experience you want. And I think because we run them all together, that we now think, if you're looking at a game, you think MMOs are kind of all the same. You got to pick one. It's not true. I just realized
Warframe has both Battle Arena and
really
Royale mode.
It has Battle Royale mode?
Apparently.
Fuck me. Warframe's insane.
I haven't played Warframe enough to like.
Warframe scared me off. I've watched a lot of Warframe. I played enough Warframe, and then I was like, this hill is straight up, and it's good.
It's also considered an action role playing game, and 3rd-person shooter, and an MMO, and a single player game. Look how one game is all of these things.
Yes. That's the I guess that's the central point is please, because what we have is we now have people who hang around a genre, who hang around a game they shouldn't be playing, like Destiny folks. And then you have people who are having the time of their life playing something that there's no runoff like Warframe. People play Warframe, they all like it. And it just seems as though that, and I've had discussions with people who prefer like The Division, for example. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know about mobile MMOs or the long history of MMOs next to each other. When they might have Eric on to talk about MMOs again. And there's like a whole rich history of MMOs, but how do you pick them it requires, I guess, an artist's eye. You got to pick, it's like getting fruit. You kind of have to pick it up and look at it, squeeze it, because we're kind of, as I'm hearing is people are playing the wrong game and they are absolutely melting down over it. And you need to kind of give it some thought. Yeah, it just came to mind because Outriders is super popular. The demo is super popular. People are very excited about the game. The game is going to be on Game Pass day one because Game Pass again.
My favorite was the article, and the headline is immediately Xbox people, please cancel your pre-order. Now.
Do it now quickly. Because they're about to they take your money 10 days before, so it's like really important that you do not forget, because you will be charged for the game right before the game comes out.
Be charged for the game right before the game comes out.
And
do not. Also, the favorite part is like we've been railing against doing pre-orders for years, which, listen, unless it's by a specific trusted company and the pre-order goodies are actually worth it, do not drop money on a pre-order. There is literally no reason to drop money on a pre-order. Plus, almost all of the pre-order goodies that are digital, you can access after the fact, and usually the price will go down. So you don't need those right at expansion. Or you don't. So as you can tell, I'm super used to saying expansion. But like with Final Fantasy, like with Final Fantasy 14, you can upgrade your collection to a collector's edition at any time.
I did not know that.
Yes. So when they ran a sale on the A Realm Reborn collector's edition and made it $9, I definitely copped that and got all of the collector's edition goodies.
I will say that some people will pay a premium to be first, so I can't speak to those people.
Right. I will only do it for specific games. Like I did do the Ni no Kuni collector's edition pre-order. Do not regret it. It was the cutest pre-order collection bundle I have seen. So like, again, make sure you really want that art book or that statue or whatever comes with it.
My favorite.
So make sure it's something you want.
My favorite thing is on the Xbox dashboard is now there are pre-order goodies with Outriders, and it's like get some cosmetic skins, and
those cosmetic skins will all be available later.
And not only that, we're all just like, sir, I mean this game is finna be on Game Pass. Do the thing. We're not paying for any of your goodies. If you wanted us to do that, then you should have kept it off Game Pass. All pre-orders are canceled. We're not doing this. See you guys on the 1st.
Right.
But
it also really doesn't look like a game that's worth $60, if I'm lying.
No. But it's kind of the point, is it seems to be loot the game. And it's the fun part about the game is using your powers and getting loot. The narrative is really bad. The voice acting is really bad. The environmental design is terrible. It's a lot of 2013 era kind of Gears of War world building. It's not good. None of the context is good. The selection of the black representation is not good. Just awful. But it threatens to pour loot all over you, or just like it's a loot waterfall, without any frills. There's no live service. There's no cosmetics. There's nothing. Conceivably, you could even apparently just be by yourself and just get loot forever. And there's so many people that are excited for it, despite all the ways it fails as a game, as a narrative, in terms of context, in terms of game design, that it does. That's why it kind of brought the question is like, what do people want? And if you just only want loot, is that fair to ask for? And should you make sure that you know to ask for it? Because one of the things I'm playing Destiny with people, and there's always the odd person who's like, I would do this, but I'm lazy. Or I would do this, but I'm lazy. But Destiny is generally a bunch of experiences with item drops at the end. Some games do it differently. But Outriders seems to be a lot of loot for your trouble, but a lot of loot without you having to waste your time with a checklist or ritual activities or anything. And people really like it. And I just wanted to make sure that like we took this moment as people are excited about Outriders. If you want loot, because that is Loot the Game. It is Loot the Game. Volume 1, Annihilation. Fine. But just make sure that we are all seeing it. That we are all seeing the fact that sometimes we just want loot. We don't want to do all these activities. We don't want to learn mechanics. We don't want to be in a multiplayer environment. We don't want live service. We don't want drip-fed content. Just give us loot forever and leave us be. Borderlands stumbled upon this, but Borderlands even tries to tell a story and seems as though Outriders is even doing away with like Borderlands has an overarching narrative that's rather interesting.
Right. But Borderlands also has Randy Pitchford.
Oh yeah. Well, nonetheless, yeah.
Right. But Borderlands was basically Loot the Game, but Borderlands also had a lot of character with it.
Right.
So like it was cell shaded, it was character.
Right.
Like the characters were characters.
Right. And it seemed as though Outriders has nothing happening.
I have been dubbed forever Tiny Tina.
I mean,
right.
No comment.
Right.
But yeah, Outriders does away with all of that. It does away with all of the pretense of a game that wants you to involve itself with its narrative and context before you get loot.
Right. There are people who just
want loot.
Want to pick up the game, get loot, and go.
And I want to make sure that we know, because those people will just want loot, never say it, hate on everything else they play.
I would not be able to play that game. I will be bored to tears.
I am already bored to tears. All I do is make fun of it. I don't like it, but I like context. I need context. Like I can't play a game that just puts the same reason why I don't like playing PvP for no reason. Like now I can't play.
Right. That's because you really like lore and soundtracks.
Right. I like games to be allowed. If I'm going to be playing a game consistently, then I should be creating an organic story of my own in place of an existing story, while also creating smaller stories. There should be constant narrative development in me playing the game. And if there isn't, then I don't really, I lose interest quickly.
What I think more games need to do, and I don't know how many others do this, to be honest. I know Final Fantasy does, and I love Final Fantasy. Also, the Tales games do this in some way, shape, or form. Well, not with old outfits, but like in the Tales games, there's always like outfits you can unlock and find, so you can always make the characters wear different outfits that are super adorable. But like in Final Fantasy 14, there's a good reason to consistently farm old gear for glamour, so you can like make your outer gear look exactly like another gear piece without affecting your stats. And that's something that but what that means is I am still farming level 70 content because I'm trying to get 2 more body pieces that I need because they look great.
Well,
so but again, Destiny could like use something like this because there's so much loot, but some of that stuff looks really cool, but it gets outdated really fast. So either a way to like,
oh, they're putting that in next season.
And there you go.
Yeah. So then all the armor that you get, because they're like you said, Destiny has a lot of junk armor in particular, where you're just like, oh, this has no value. And
but
yes,
it looks pretty.
yes, you got to have the latest fashion. Yes, they're employing a transmog system, I believe, next season, where you can just make any armor look like any armor you've ever required in the game. So yes, so armor will have relevance, even visually, that you can finally just kind of make that happen. So yes, you're absolutely right.
Right, but that's a way to like, again, expand the loot pool. You're artificially expanding the loot pool, but now everything is viable again.
Right. Or you could just pour it on the player's head.
Or you can just pour it on the player's head like candy.
I'm excited for Outriders because
I'm not gonna lie, that is what made me laugh really hard about Borderlands, is like all of the all the loot explodes like candy. Everything explodes like a piñata.
Yes.
And it's just like, and it's all bright colors. So it really like, somebody was just like this. I basically want to make everything look like a loot piñata.
Listen, the chemical response, they knew what they were doing, and it works like a charm.
Give me shiny things, bright shiny things. But I need context for the bright shiny things. I can't.
Right. But this is
I will just fall asleep doing it.
I hope Outriders is super successful, because I want this to be the advent. I want there to be language. I want there to be a place and a time where the people who want loot but no content could gather around and just hammer away at villains. Like, I hope that the game just pours all the loot on so that those people can leave the rest of us alone. They have their own city being built, majestic golden city full of loot and not a lot of content. And I hope that they just get overloaded with it. I hope it's endless. I hope the story remains stupid. I hope that nothing changes. I'm fine with all the things that it's not, because it's so much loot. And those people who don't care about representation, context, narrative, any of that, can have their game, live in peace, and leave the rest of us the fuck alone. It's almost here, Bacon. It might be, if it is what I think, if it is what they hope, it might be my game of the year. It might be the most important game of 2021.
Because it'll get people off your back.
It will get people out of the comment sections, off the Discords. It will get them off of Twitter. It will get them off the threads. They will go into that wasteland. There will be blood. There will be skeletons. There will be sci-fi movie-tastic dialogue. There will be powers. Everyone will explode into bloody chunks. Your cooldowns will be short. The loot pool will be large. Get to be great. Phenomenal stuff. We are on the precipice of a great change, an era of peace. And now that those people have their game, they can always ask for it by name, so that they can stop asking Destiny to have more stuff and less stuff, or the Division to have less numbers, less stuff, less content. I guess it's behind this mission, or it's behind this raid, or it's in PvP, or it's out of PvP. You don't have to worry about that. Just go to the wasteland and just blow guys up. That's it. It's going to be great, Bacon. I'm very excited for this game.
I have some really unfortunate news for you.
What happened?
That's not going to happen. But
It might happen. It might happen. People are ready. Listen, it's the same.
No. There are people who are ready. And there will some who will find their perfect game. There are some who will go out and learn that there is a whole nother world for just them out there, for all of their needs. And then there are others who live their existence in the darkness, fueled by hatred And they will continue on all of these Discords and all of these blogs and all of these YouTube channels, because that is what gives them meaning in life, is to rail against everything that is good in this world. I've been playing a lot of Bravely Default.
That's fair. That's
Actually. But I am serious. Like, I mean, the haters are gonna hate. They're just like it is a brand to hate on things.
I like it. The way I see it is that certain things, the more needs that are met, the more we can find. Because what happens is you find someone who goes on a thread or whatever, and they go, Destiny 2 sucks. And you go, you silly son of a bitch. And you backhand slap them verbally. And then they go, it's like, I just want to play a game with loot. And you're like, oh, I see. You actually didn't have any true malice. You just wanted more loot with less effort. I see. You just don't know where to take that angst and frustration. So
right. And what I'm saying is that there will be those people, right, and they will find their true home. Right.
And what I'm saying is those people might, the more options we get, the more thin, like the people who were like complaining about comic book movies 15 years ago, a lot of those people shut up. The people who are
complaining about comic book movies,
right.
You know what they're saying right now? They're saying, no more comic book movies. There's too many comic book movies.
Right. But those are the true haters. So you know what you can do? You can hit them with a chair without asking anything. And that's the best part. The context now, the combat terms are different. It's not like someone is like, because, you know, someone would be like, I want my unique story represented in a superhero movie, when they're really saying they don't like superhero movies, but they really want themselves to be represented in a superhero movie. And we're getting things like that. We're getting all these unique stories. We're getting all these interesting stories. So now the people who complain now are assholes and can be treated accordingly. You don't have to address them to discover more about them because we have so many options. That's great. We're almost there with like looter shooters, MMOs. It's almost there. The final group of people who just want to play and get shit for nothing that large group of people are about to have their needs met directly and loudly.
You mean the people who get mad playing Apex when it's literally just the game? Like, it's not lag.
Yes.
It's not anything. It's like somebody came up from behind you and hit you and smacked you over the head, and now you're dead. I don't know what to tell you. That's just the game.
People play Apex. They're like, man, I'm so tired of getting shot without a gun. Well, let me tell you. I don't know what to tell you in this game where you spawn in from orbit without a gun. That, yes, exactly.
That is the game.
Right. So we need, if we can separate the people who will just hate on everything from the people who didn't know what they wanted until they got it, then we can get to the point where when someone says something silly, we can just tell them to shut the fuck up without wasting our energy.
The only thing that really the big thing that actually bothers me about this is because, like, so I'm a big proponent of casual games and casual gameplay, mostly because, like, I don't believe in gaming gatekeeping. I believe if you play games, it doesn't matter if you're just playing like that one game on your cell phone, like that is still gaming. For me, what makes a casual gamer versus like a hardcore gamer is like really just the amount of time and dedication you put into it.
Right.
Because that, I mean, just like with any hobby, it's just like it goes from this is just, you know, something I do to I'm a full hobbyist. Like there's the same goes in gaming. So like the thing that bothers me is that some of these people will rail on people who play like games that are considered casual games, even if they're not played casually, because let me tell you, first off, cell phone games are specifically designed to like trigger all the addictive stuff in your head and make you spend money and like and also just like try and get you to continuously play the game. So if you're playing like a free to play game and you're succeeding and you've been playing it for a year, guess what? You're not a casual gamer.
Yep.
I don't know what to tell you, but which is fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Like if you're doling out thousands of dollars that you don't really have. You might want to see a therapist about it. But outside of that, it's fine. This is all perfectly normal gameplay. So the thing is, like, these people will rail against like these people, and I'm like, you are literally doing the exact same thing though. Like you want to play what is actually like a low effort game for maximum reward, but yet you're railing on all these other people for also doing the same thing because they just want to they just want to play fun. They just want to do something to have fun, like on the train or whatever.
Right.
Like that's like, there's some massive parallels here. And I know we usually use Call of Duty as like the example, but like, even people who just play Call of Duty, but play it religiously and do like tournaments and stuff, that's also not a casual gamer. Like there's a lot of different games. There's a lot of different like stuff that, people like put a bunch of time into, etc. So again, like before you open your mouth, be like, what kind of game and gameplay do I want and how much time do I want to put at, and make sure you're not mocking people who do the exact same thing.
Yep.
Actually, you should be mocking people for playing games, period.
That's also true.
Let people have their serotonin.
You need yours too.
Give me my rewards. Whatever like makes your brain pop off in happy sparks. Have your happy sparks. Don't rail on other people for their happy sparks. Now, if your happy sparks is calling folks the N-word through the chat, well, I hope those happy sparks are actually a punch to the face. Literally. And that's why you're seeing sparks.
I agree with this.
But if you're not harming anybody and not being harmful, don't be harmful to other people. They're not doing anything. You're not doing everything. We're all just trying to get our happy brain sparks.
That's the title of the episode.
I already knew it. I knew it as soon as I was even thinking it. I'm like, Aaron's going to name the episode Happy Brain Spikes. I already know it.
I'm a fucking professional.
The dog agrees.
Thank you, dog. I think that was my pen clicking.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, for people, I've fixed my Ethernet issues and I'm back on streaming. Hopefully I'll be able to keep it past the current manic episode I'm in. Let's go. Blackout shopping sprees. What I mean, blackout shopping sprees are literally basically when you like buy stuff and then you literally don't remember it, and then the package arrives and you're like, well, that happened. So, let's hope it goes on past this. If you want to see some Bravely Default gameplay, I streamed like 3 hours of it yesterday in Final Fantasy 14. There's also a currency event called Moogle Tomestones, and it's going to be a lot of there's you can get them by doing PvP religiously. So if you see me playing or streaming, it's either Bravely Default or it's either me cracking up and cackling in PvP.
I think that is our program.
Well, it's great because I need to finish reading for this next podcast.
And remember, think about the game you want to play. Play what you want to play. And if you like Outriders, please have all the fun in the world. It's for you.
Also, please don't be a jerk to other people.
Listen, that's Outriders is there. It's like advanced water filtration. What we will have after Outriders for a year are the real assholes who don't really want to do anything but harass other people. And we will deal with
the next Brita Filter limited edition is going to be Outriders limited edition.
Yes. And then we will know how to deal with the assholes accordingly. But until then, everyone have fun and a pleasant day.
Happy Brain Sparks.
Go ahead, stand up,